You've spent 2 solid days pouring everything you have into a project. Every word, every headline, every call to action, crafted. You hit send. You wait. Then the sales start rolling in. Day 1, $120. Day 2, $200. Day 3, $150. Day 4, $360 in a single day. By the end of the month, your work had generated $6,000 in revenue. And you? You got absolutely nothing. Not a reply, not an email, not even a courtesy thanks for the work. Just silence. But here's the part that changes everything. She left me with access to her entire website, and when her store mysteriously went dark, she panicked and came running straight back to me. That was my moment. If you've ever worked your hardest for someone, delivered results beyond what they even expected, and then got ghosted like you never existed, this story is for you. Hit that like button, subscribe if you're new, and buckle in. Because what I'm about to tell you is one of the most quietly satisfying, perfectly executed pieces of justice I've ever pulled off. No shouting, no threats, no drama. Just one perfectly timed, beautifully vague reply that made a thief wire me nearly $1,500 within the hour. Let's get into it. 8 years ago, I was nobody. Not in a self-pity kind of way, just the honest truth of being young and hungry and desperately trying to break into copywriting with 0 credentials and 0 clients. I had drive. I had ideas. What I didn't have was a portfolio or anyone willing to take a chance on some unknown kid with a laptop and big ambitions. So I took anything I could get. That's how I ended up on a call with her. I won't use her name, but let's just say she ran a small online jewelry store, Elven themed, esoteric, the kind of shop that sells pendants shaped like mystical symbols to people who are very serious about their crystals. Not exactly my world, but honestly, I didn't care. Work is work. A chance is a chance. She found me through a Freelancer forum, and from the very first message, she made it crystal clear, no pun intended, that she didn't have a big budget. She was upfront about that, and honestly, I respected it. We worked something out that felt fair, a pure performance deal. Nothing upfront from her, and in exchange, I'd take a 5% commission on every sale that came through the landing page I built. 5%. On a tiny WordPress store that maybe pulled in a few $100s a month. I figured, best case scenario, I walk away with $300, maybe $800 over time. But even if the numbers were small, it didn't matter that much. I needed the portfolio piece. I needed the experience. I needed to prove to myself, more than anyone else, that I could actually do this. So I got to work. I wrote that landing page like it was going to be seen by 1 million people. I researched the niche. I studied the language her target buyers used, the reverence, the spiritual weight they attached to these pieces of jewelry. I built out the copy to speak to that, the mysticism, the craftsmanship, the meaning behind every symbol, and then I built the whole thing inside her WordPress site. Clean, functional, compelling. I handed it over, wished her luck, and honestly, I half expected it to just sit there, quietly, making modest numbers. And then she started running Facebook ads to it. I still remember the moment I checked the analytics for the first time after those ads went live. I had to refresh the page twice because I genuinely didn't believe what I was seeing. Day 1, $120 in sales. Day 2, $200. Day 3, $150. Day 4, $360. My hands were actually trembling. I'm sitting there in my apartment, staring at this tiny screen, watching money roll in from 2 days of work I did weeks ago. This is it, I thought. This is what passive income actually feels like. This is why people talk about writing copy like it's some kind of superpower. I had written words on a page, and those words were convincing strangers on the internet to open their wallets over and over again, every single day. By the end of that first month, her little Elven jewelry store had done $6,000 in revenue through that landing page. $6,000. My 5% cut? $300. Not life-changing money on its own, but it was real money, earned money, and it was only the beginning. If it kept performing like this, month after month, I allowed myself to do the math. I let myself feel excited. And then I made the mistake of sending an invoice. The day I sent that first invoice, something shifted. It was subtle at first, a reply that took a little longer than usual. Then a reply that didn't really answer what I asked. Then, nothing. An email I sent that got swallowed into some void she apparently lived in. A follow-up. Another follow-up. A phone call that rang out. Then another. 1 week became 2. 2 weeks became a month. A month became 3 months. 3 months of silence. 3 months of being completely, utterly ignored. While I watched, through the analytics access she'd never bothered to revoke, as her store kept making sales. The landing page I wrote was still live. The Facebook ads were still running. The revenue was still coming in. She was collecting money generated by my work, and she had simply decided I didn't exist anymore. I want you to sit with that feeling for a second, because if you've ever been on the receiving end of something like this, you know exactly what it does to you. It's not just the money, it's the disrespect of it. The casual cruelty of someone who looked at everything you gave them, shrugged, and decided you weren't worth even the dignity of a response. That eats at you in ways that are hard to explain. You second-guess yourself. You replay every email wondering if you said something wrong. You wonder if maybe you're the problem. And then you get angry. Really, genuinely angry. The slow burn kind. That's where I was, 3 months in, watching her sales tick upward, stewing in a frustration I had no outlet for, when out of absolutely nowhere, my phone lit up. A message from her. "My site is down. Are you doing this? Please stop." I read it 3 times. Then I set my phone down. Then I picked it back up and read it again. Her site was down, and in her panic, in her guilt-soaked paranoia, she'd immediately assumed it was me. Now, to be completely honest with you, I had absolutely nothing to do with it. Her hosting had almost certainly just given out on her. Cheap plans on cheap servers go down all the time. It had nothing to do with me. But she didn't know that. And suddenly, the power had shifted. I could feel it. This electric, almost dizzying sense that for the first time in 3 months, I held something she wanted, and I had about 30 seconds to figure out exactly how to use it. Here's the thing about being in that situation. You can't be reckless. My first instinct was to fire back with everything, to tell her exactly how furious I was, to call her a thief, to threaten her. But I stopped myself, because the moment you make a threat in writing, you've handed someone a weapon. If she went to the police, or even just a lawyer, with a message where I'd openly admitted to sabotage and demanded money, I become the villain in that story. I needed to be smarter than that. I needed to say everything while technically saying nothing. I stared at that blinking cursor for a long time, typing, deleting, typing again, and eventually, I landed on 11 words that I now consider some of the finest I've ever written. "Sorry, but I'm not going to talk to you until you pay me what you owe me." That's it. That's the whole message. Read it again. I never said I took her site down. I never said I'd keep it down. I made no threats. I admitted to nothing. But in the context of that conversation, her panicked accusation, her desperation, those 11 words landed like a sledgehammer. She called me within minutes. Her voice was tight, controlled, but barely. She wanted to know what I wanted. I kept my own voice completely calm. I told her I still had access to her website and her Google Analytics. I could see exactly what she'd made off the landing page I built for her, and I wanted what we had originally agreed on, 5% of sales from that page. A pause. Then, how much is that? I told her the number. Just shy of $1,500. Another pause. Shorter this time. I'll take care of it. We got off the call. I immediately sent over the final invoice, professional, detailed, every number accounted for, and sat back and waited. The wire transfer came through that same hour. I genuinely don't have words for what that moment felt like. $1,500 hitting my account wasn't just money. It was 3 months of anger and silence and self-doubt dissolving all at once. It was every unanswered email suddenly answered. Every ignored phone call finally returned. It was proof that I wasn't wrong, that my work had value, that I deserved to be paid. And then she messaged me one final time. She sent a screenshot of the bank transfer confirmation and asked me, sweetly, almost politely, like we were colleagues who'd just resolved a minor misunderstanding, to enable her website. I looked at that message for a long moment. I thought about 3 months of silence. I thought about watching her profit from my work while pretending I didn't exist. I thought about the very specific, very satisfying irony of what I was about to type. And then I wrote back, I had nothing to do with your website crashing. You should talk to your hosting provider. I hit send. I never heard from her again. Here's what I took from all of this. Sometimes the universe hands you a window, a tiny, perfect, completely accidental moment where the scales can tip back in your favor. The question is whether you're paying attention when it opens and whether you're smart enough to use it without burning yourself down in the process. She thought she could take what she wanted and disappear. She was almost right. Almost. If this story gave you that deeply satisfying itch that only real justice can scratch, smash that like button. It genuinely helps more than you know. And I want to hear from you in the comments. What's the most satisfying moment of karma or revenge you've ever witnessed, whether it happened to you or someone you know? Drop it below. Some of those stories are going to end up on this channel. Subscribe if you haven't already, because we've got a whole vault of stories just like this one, and some of them way more unhinged. I'll see you in the next one.